Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here. Welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and we come back here and we discuss it. And today we're going to be talking about Tokyo Revengers, episode 5 through 8. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. Come on back. If you haven't seen the past episode of this Anime Hour show, you can go back and watch that on YouTube or Spotify. We talk about the first 4 episodes of Tokyo Revengers, but I don't go on this time traveling paradoxical journey alone. I am joined by my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing today?
I am good, but man, oh man, as we said last week, this is a rewatch for me, and man, oh man, I forgot some of the things that happen in this show.
Sure.
Oh boy.
And we're gonna discuss them for sure. I don't know. I wanna like it. I really do. I like the characters. I'm feeling as we watch more episodes, I'm enjoying the characters. Because like if this is your first time watching, we go through anime. We've already rated a bunch of anime on our list here. On the left is me, on the right is Matt, about where we think they stand on a tier list. We have so many more anime to go. If you want to submit an anime to the chest, you can do that by submitting 500 bits and give us your suggestion, and we'll put it in the bucket here. 500 bits live on Twitch. We are Wednesday for a change here, but like so many anime that we've already gone through so far, I'm liking the characters a lot more than what I think the story could be because of reasons, and I'll give you those reasons whenever we get to it. But like, I think so far in why, because I'm still racking my brain, like, why do people enjoy this so much? I've seen people like so many like figures and talking about this show and so much about it. I'm like, why is that? And I think mainly they could be doing whatever. It just so happens it's some insane time travel plot, but like the characters that we're coming to grow to know and enjoy, I think is the real point to this show, which is something that we've seen before in other shows where like the story kind of sucked, but like I just want these guys to do something cool together.
And that is definitely one thing that one question I ponder while watching this is there's a few times definitely where I'm like, do I think this show would be better if you just sacked the time travel narrative and just made it a coming of age story?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, would it be better off for it? I don't know. We don't have that story, but it makes me think about it because it's just a coming of age story, a recoming of age story, a realization of age story.
He's a virgin,
I don't,
so not recoming.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it definitely makes me think that, like, yeah, when you take the time travel out, I think that this story would have a lot to benefit, but then I understand that, like, it's just there's some implications that get taken away from our main character and his motivations and why he does some of the things that he does, why he will never back down ever again, and not just never back down. Because you take somebody like we've watched Black Clover, and you take somebody like Asta from Black Clover, and he's just, I'll never back down. It's just, I'll never back down. I'm never going to give up. But for Takemichi, it continues to get driven home. I'm never backing down ever again because I have made these mistakes. I learned from it, and I'm not going to allow that to repeat.
And is it more to never back down or to is it more to never back down and continue on that path like you're saying in Black Clover, or is it more to have gone through it once and then seen the outcome and be like, no, we need to change something here in my past and myself? So I don't know. It's an interesting question that poses whenever you compare the two. But we are going to be talking about episode 5 through 8 of Tokyo Revengers. Let's get into it because a lot of stuff happened, and we got to talk about it. So episode 5, Re-Leap.
So Naoto finds out that 12 years ago, Tokyo Majin gang split into the Mikey faction and the Draken faction due to their disputes. And Draken ends up dying. Despite Naoto telling him this, Takamichi refuses to believe that Mikey and Draken would ever fight and goes back to find out what caused the dispute in order to save Draken. Takamichi joins up with the entire gang to discuss beef with revolving around another gang, Mobius. Then following Draken and Mikey around, curious how they could ever split up because he just is he's in disbelief how they could ever just end up with the splitting of the gang into two factions. Takamichi realizing that Draken is Mikey's heart, and Draken's death is what would prompt Toman to going down a criminal path and organization.
So we talked about the whole click situation,
Yes, the whole
about
situation.
the
Yeah,
autopilot, and they kind of confirmed that here whenever he confronts um
Emma and Hannah.
well,
Well, yeah,
yeah,
he
Hana and
finds himself
Emma,
under Emma, and then
and then
around Emma. I'm sorry, Hana, who
Hana.
tells him that
He's different.
yeah, he's
You
different.
seem like the older you, which does make the whole click situation make more sense because in that movie, whenever he was autopiloting, he was just like whatever, he's glazed. But then like she actually does notice right off the bat that he's more present, that he's the older him or something has changed. We
Today you're
still don't
adult Takamichi, but yesterday and recently you've just been so cold to me. You
yeah.
ignore me, blah 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 blah.
Um the in the funny part, there is funny parts in these four episodes. Uh, I don't know. I'm still conflicted on the funny because some of it is a little over the top, like anime, like oh my god, like crazy faces and stuff, and the animations, like oh my god, look at my face, like oh my face got all big and I'm crying or blood out of my nose. You know,
The
normal
expressiveness.
the expressiveness of normal anime we've seen. It's a little much, but it was really funny when the girl that he was under turns out to be a girl from that knows Draken, that is really close to Draken, that is close to the gang,
It's like pretty
and
much Draken's like girlfriend, but like not his girlfriend because
yeah,
she remarks that he cares about is bikes and hanging out with Mikey and
yeah,
he's a
the
guy
important stuff.
hanging with the dudes.
Yeah, just guys being dudes with Mikey
So she
and all
does
that.
things like that to try to get the response out of him, but then it doesn't happen, I guess.
Yeah. So like the introduction of her was really funny. The introduction of the gang sort of oh, why can't I click? Hello? Was my mouse messed up here? Okay, there it is. Uh introduction of like more of the gang members
Yeah.
in Toman and getting the crux of what's going to be the story arc at least for a little bit, probably
Yeah.
until the end of
Which is a
episode 12.
pretty like gnarly story arc that they went with, honestly. Like
Yeah, about someone,
TTW, honestly, about like
yeah, about a lot
gang
of stuff,
violence,
gang
gang violence
violence
related stuff.
that wasn't to what Mikey and Draken wanted or or envisioned what gang violence should be. It should be contained
Yeah.
in their own little world, guys fighting guys, whatever. And
There's like
um
being delinquents, which Mikey says he wants to build a new world for delinquents, but these guys are being criminals.
sure. Okay.
They're being actual like, menaces, like not menaces, but dangers to the society. There's a menace to
Sure.
society, then there's a danger and like harmful individual to the
Hmm.
society. And that
So
these guys definitely Mobius which is the rival gang, they're set up to be just in a far different like despicable like tier than
sure.
Toman is.
Toman. Mhm. So the whole, I mean, it makes it sort of believable, and it does seem like they are an actual threat that to some would want to take out. You know what I mean? If you're in that sort of mindset, you're like, yeah, of course they deserve some sort of retribution against them, and something should happen. But the way that it shows the connections between Mikey and shows how Draken is this sort of way with him, and the how old do we know these two kids? Because like Mikey's still really
They're
small.
yeah,
I
Mikey's still
because
tiny, but
the
they're both the same year, I'm pretty sure. And that would be that they're
like
like
16.
a freshman in high school,
Sure.
that age range. Yeah,
Okay.
freshman in high school in our system, but in the Japanese school system, that would be third years in middle school.
Okay. So it still feels like Draken has some sort of like big brother symbol to Mikey and is sort of in that teacher role. And it still feels like Mikey has some more to mature, but it does touch on this episode that this is the reason why Draken needs to stay alive because we find out that he's going to die in a couple of days or
Hmm.
whatever.
We've
And
already,
we,
I'm pretty sure here we've already been, yeah, we've already been told by Naoto that Draken's going to end up dying on August 3rd because of a dispute that happens with Toman,
Mhm,
where he's going to end up dying. So Takamichi comes back to try to save everyone essentially,
mhm.
and yeah, and it's yeah, he's trying his best to save everyone.
Sure, by being and they keep mentioning this, and the more that I think about it, he keeps doing it about being like the crying hero, the
Hmm.
one that
Crybaby
shows
hero.
emotion,
Hmm.
crybaby hero, and we touch on it. We're going to touch on it in the last episode for sure, but it's a different kind of take on what it means to be strong because we see a bunch of these strong guys, and Takamichi thinks that's what it means to be a dude and means to be strong and be a leader and stuff like that is to have the most muscles to be able to kick so much ass and all this stuff. But then we're seeing the juxtaposition of who this world kind of needs, which is Takamichi, somebody that actually cares, can think forward, and have this sort of empathy,
Yeah,
maybe
I would call it
empathy,
that.
and that's what really is the leader that would shine in a lead of Toman or one of these bike, if we want to put it back into this context. But it's really cool that we see the different sides, that we see not only the different sides between Draken and Mikey, but the sides of all of the gang plus Takamichi, which
Yeah,
is trying to go against it all, go
yeah.
against the entire grain of what it means to be in one of these groups that we're trying to stop fight. It's just really cool. So I
No, yeah,
love this scene.
beautifully put,
I
honestly.
love these
Yeah.
scenes with showing Mikey being a little silly guy
Hmm.
and falling asleep after eating, but then after he wakes up, he needs to eat again.
How does that
Uh,
even work? That's what Draken says.
it's so silly, and I really do enjoy it. Like I said,
It's in the
more.
character interactions. Once you get to know these characters, who they are, it's them interacting with each other that just really, I feel like, drives the interest of an intrigue of where the show is going to go, the progression.
And I felt that the most in episode 7, because some cool stuff happens. But in episode 6, regret. Let's go on to episode 6. What happens in episode 6?
Episode 6, we get to see the events of Draken and Mikey's childhood that would end up bringing the two together, forming the duo we know today. Takamichi returns to the present to talk to Ozanai, the leader of Mobius, to find out what really happened that day on August 8th. Ozanai noting that someone else is pulling the strings. Takamichi returns to the past to attempt to stop Toman and Mobius from colliding. However, he finds himself surrounded alongside Mikey, Draken, Pa, and Pe.
Pa and Pe.
Pa and Pe.
So
Surrounded.
it, this is another. Have we seen a flashback in this anime yet? Like a flashback of before?
That's a good question.
We haven't, I don't
I
think.
don't think so.
So this was the first time that we got to see, well, at least for these two characters, Draken and Mikey meeting up together, and we see Draken, which is really interesting. Like
Yeah.
Draken finally understands what he can do. He takes ownership of that, and then he goes to the next level with a dragon tattoo as a middle schooler. But then he's sort of still answering to these thugs, and
Yeah, this group that like one time put him in his place, so he kind of just stays in check via them
mhm.
or whatever. But then
And
they're like, run on. You need to bring us this other kid who's that we hear is causing problems. And so he goes and gets him, and Mikey just takes him down in one swift move.
so I'm still trying to figure out like
Power
Mikey.
levels.
Well, okay, power level. Yeah, Mikey is above Draken, right? Mikey is top so far that we've seen. Mikey is top as far as we know. But like what does Mikey only want the delinquent life? Like what there there seems to be like a one-dimensional thing there, but he also likes Draken and he wants to make this whole biker
Well,
gang
because
thing
he's like
work.
he's like what locks in with me is when Mikey does that to their leader, and then he looks back and he says, "So what does a bunch of like wussy mama boys who need to gang up on somebody else want to do with me? Like you guys are collectively looking to like try to like stomp on some kid 2 years younger than you. Like, what's your deal?" Looks over at Draken, who he's heard about before, and he knows that Draken, if he's heard about Draken, he knows that he just goes around picking fights with other kids for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
So he looks at Draken like a badass, probably like himself, because that's what Draken has heard that Mikey does. Goes around picking fights with other people, a high
Mhm.
schooler at that. So someone that was what, 4 years, 5 years older than him at that point.
Mhm.
Um, so I think there might just be like this underlying tone of respect that Mikey has for Draken for just being a scrapper, but the other guys he just looks at as posers.
Sure.
So
Okay.
there's that, and again, it's like those it's like how they note with Takamichi, like you're different because you're somebody who won't back down for any reason. We can tell
But
that
still
about you.
in my 31-year-old brain, I get it cuz they're kids, I guess still.
Sure, yeah.
They're still pretty one-dimensional in that stage because in my 31-year-old brain I'm just like, okay, like whatever. Like this is nothing to base off a friendship. Like because the way they're treating Takamichi, they're like, we need to be by his side. We need to be his friend. I'm like, there's not enough there for me to be like, I need to be by somebody. Like it feels like I just met someone at a new job and it's like, okay, cool, whatever. Like we're friends, I guess, whatever. But
They have set in my eyes like the, what was it, episode 4, episode 3, when Draken says that there aren't many guys like you. That alone is just like, oh, that they want to be around him because you don't find guys like this.
okay,
They don't find guys like this, and the
sure.
guys that they do find, they get into their gang. So what do they probably ultimately want for Takamichi? To be in their gang and
Hmm.
build this new world for delinquents. That's how I see that working out. But
Claire says, "Wait, are you telling me we're not friends because we're fellow humans?" No, I don't just
nice
go around
try.
being friends with everybody. Yeah, sorry. Another interesting character that we meet here in the future first is Osanai, who is the leader of Mobius. We found him working at the conveniently
Yeah,
working there where they were at
like the
in the
harbor or
future.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, the main area there, and he says that this was just the start. That the whole situation between Mobius and Tomin was just the start
it was the
of
trigger.
something. The
And
trigger that
it was the trigger that caused greater internal conflicts for Tomin, which is
and
then what caused Tomin to split up,
which he doesn't explain what that means.
because he
And
says, I'm not like, he makes the in not inference, but he alludes that, like, that guy is still out there and I can't say anything, otherwise it's going to come back to get me.
mhm. And he seems very scared,
Yeah, very scared,
very afraid
terrified.
of what could happen. And so we first meet him. It was a really cool part though that we got to meet him first as how who he became, sort of down the path, sort of close to Takamichi. But he had a greater fall than Takamichi because he was this cool guy,
Yeah,
Osanai, the leader of Mobius, and with his fucking hair, just chilling. He's a boxer. He held his own alone, and
against
he does
Pa,
seem like a
who
leader.
was one. Mikey even says, Pa is Toman's best brawler.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he says that. And
Hmm.
then, we get to see Osanai just completely, you know, toast him. He
So
passes out, goes unconscious, standing
sure,
up.
yeah,
Sorry, that happens later.
yeah, in episode 7. But like, um, this whole time I was thinking that because we're already seeing the timeline change as
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
because I don't think that Mobius would have come by to that place. I don't think they ever mentioned it, but we see a bunch of Mobius group there, and I think some of it changed because of what Takamichi is doing. So we already see it start to veer off in a
Yeah.
direction. We don't know if it's better
And he
or
says
not.
that. He says, "Did I create like an odd or did I create like a weird timeline or something like that?"
Yeah, because I was thinking when this was happening, I was like, "Oh god, it's gonna happen today." It's not even August 3rd. Like he messed it up for the worst.
Mhm.
So it's what I was thinking during at the end of episode 6. So episode 7 starts off with them being surrounded, and what happens in episode 7? Revive.
Takamichi continues to try to intervene in the oncoming conflict. However, he's powerless to stop Pa and Osanai from throwing hands. Pa ends up passing out while still standing, Mikey then stepping in to end the fight swiftly. Tensions escalate, quickly leading to Pa stabbing a grappled Ozanai before turning himself in to the oncoming police. Mikey and Draken would end up in an argument, with Toman splitting into two factions. After the both of them would visit Takamichi in recovery, they end up destroying his childhood belongings, prompting him to freak out.
Another really funny moment is this whole fight
Yes.
and all this stuff that happens
Because
because we see
like
him
it's
enraged.
again with the whole time travel business, you know that I can just imagine all those things like being somewhere in his apartment and then just like
Sure.
snapping in half in the new
Yeah.
timeline.
In this new town that they're just like decimated or covered in poop or whatever. I don't know. But the big moment here
Big
is
moments.
that again, we see that we're talking about power earlier, how Mikey just instantly downs
Ozanai
Osanai here.
in one kick.
In one kick, he's done. Draken holds him and he's out for the count. Um this was the next part here was not something I was expecting at all. How
Yeah,
Pa just stabbed him, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, okay, so we know they're thugs or what delinquents is the word,
delinquents.
right?
Yeah,
So like, we get it. They're gonna fight. They're gonna get into whatever mischief and stuff. But like, that it's kind of like what was it called? Grease, like in the movie Grease, like stuff they're like, yeah, whatever,
yeah,
like doing
exactly.
all this nonsense. But then like
Menaces,
once
but not danger slash like threats.
yeah, but then once something happens big, they're like, "Oh, wait, you took it
Yeah,
over the line. Like this, we're not playing anymore." Like
exactly.
it felt like
It
that
gets
when
serious. Yeah.
it gets super serious when Pa's like, "I'm gonna stab him," and yeah, he has
But
to pay
again,
for what.
we see in the previous episode what these guys that are here right now in front of him, what their actions led to, like an innocent person becoming disfigured,
Mhm.
um, their family crushed and broken, like so we've seen the effects that these guys have. So whether or not he like pause, justified to be judge, jury, executioner per se, is for up to debate, but
Yeah, sure.
it definitely comes out of like nowhere when you'd
Uh,
think that like everything's done because like um Draken, takes grapples him. And I like that aspect of this too, and something that this show does very well in my opinion is kind of like handling these large brawls or whatever, these large groups when there's an overwhelming amount of people, but just letting that morale shift happen where like, oh, Mikey just downed their leader in one kick. Like nobody's gonna do anything. Like nobody's
yeah,
gonna try to do anything now, even though they're still surrounded by all these different
even
guys.
though
Like they
there's
just
like,
won.
yeah,
They
even
took
though
the
they
head
can
off the Hydra.
take, sure, even though they could probably take them,
Yeah.
they're just like, no, like we can't do anything. Um, it's I don't know. It's an interesting. I still want to like I don't know Draken and Mikey if are they happy with the way they are together because later on we do see that there is a divide and stuff but like could they have lived where Mikey starts all these things and Draken I feel like is like coming to pick up all the pieces to what Mikey does, like could that have survived long term? I feel like Mikey's too much of a actions now, questions later, because we've seen him do
But
this
I think,
before. That's how they
yeah,
met. Like that's exactly how they met. He just
exactly.
immediately jumped into somebody's face, and then now he walks up to the leader of Mobius and kicks him right in the face without even saying anything. And then Draken is there again to help Mikey. I don't know. I think there's
I
still
think
something
that
to the
it
relationship.
I think that there's still more to the relationship that's yet to be revealed for sure, but I do think that it plays into the aspect of Mikey being this idealist who thinks that like he can change the world for delinquents, literally. Like literally, he's trying to build a new world. So he's the type of person that would take action immediately,
Sure.
and he's not the type of person that would want to sit around and talk about things. I feel like he's into action, whereas Draken, like, he again, he went around just kind of like, causing mischief, picking fights for himself, but again, he sensed that when there was a group greater than him, a collective sum bigger than him, he knew when like to temper, when
Sure.
temperament was important, because he was like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to get my ass kicked by five different guys over.
Yeah.
Do you want me to stop picking on middle schoolers? I'll stop picking on it, whatever.
What do you think is I still want to talk about this fight because there's a lot in this. What do you think was the decision in Mikey that he let Pa keep going? Like
Oh,
he just kept him.
the same reason that like the same reason that he wanted to become friends with Takamichi, because there was something that Pa refused to back down from. That was, he
Okay,
was refused to back down from Osanai being right there in front of him and him having the chance to give him the due for his bud, Pa's bud,
sure.
who and his girlfriend. So to me, that's what that was. He wanted to respect the fact that Pa was gonna fight regardless, no matter what. Oh, he
Mhm.
sees that he's a boxer and
But
that he's probably outclassed. Doesn't matter. He's still gonna fight.
but do you think Pa getting pushed to the limit and him not being able to take him down or even land a punch was the reason why he pulled the knife? So like in that moment, Mikey was the one that quote unquote made
Doomed him.
Pa get too far. Because if he would have stopped Pa, maybe he would have been like, okay, Mikey's going to take care of it, whatever. But since he went that far past his limit and he was like, I still haven't done anything to him, uh, I need to still do something. And he wasn't in the right mindset or something like that.
And that's where I think that's where it comes into play, where I was like talking about how whether he's able to be judge, jury, executioner is to be decided. And yeah, I think that it was because he got knocked into that state and felt helpless, that he allowed the weakness to creep in and like do that, even though he knew it was not the right thing to be doing. And I think that's why he apologized to Mikey afterwards too.
Uh-huh.
He says, I'm sorry, Mikey. And then he looks back and, he tells them that, he's going to turn himself in.
Sure. Dan says no. Pa made it clear he was going to pull the knife no matter what. I guess when he was talking before, I thought that was all just talk, though. I because
Did he
like
say that
again,
before?
I think he was saying that he's like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
Oh,
But like a lot of the time when they're talking in the groups of these guys, I still think of them as like the grease boys, like
yeah.
just talking words. I didn't think it was serious. He did motion that he would do something to Osanai, that he was gonna kill them all. But like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah, exactly.
I get it that he's mad and stuff. He says things that, whatever, whatever. So I just took it as him being just really mad and overwhelmed and just being like, I'm going to kill them all and I'm going to kill Osanai the worst or whatever. So
Yeah,
that's
in
how
the
I took
moment,
it.
that's definitely how I was taking it.
But he did say that he was going to do something. So I don't know. I don't know if Mikey changing or even if Takamichi getting into somehow into the middle of that would have a little bit more would have changed anything. But the result is, and again, all of this stuff plays off like off screen. That the whole divide happens, and they don't even
Mhm.
discuss it anymore. So it's kind of odd. But
I mean,
um,
Emma tells Takamichi in the hospital that they split up and whatever, but then Takamichi goes back home after being in the hospital, and all of his friends come to visit him before Draken,
mhm,
and they're talking about how Takemichi and Mikey are fighting, and they split up into two factions, but they're probably going to get over it, yada yada. But then Draken
Yeah.
comes in and he's like, "Nope, Toman's done."
Toman's finished. Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, I guess it is that deep."
Yeah, for sure. And then they both come to meet Takamichi. It's a lot of fun, a little comedy bits and stuff. Dentist, after he stabbed him, I think he made a comment about, I'm not letting him off that
You're
easy.
right.
Gotcha.
He did say that.
And then he turned himself in. So um let's see here. So yeah, Jockin and Mikey destroy Takamichi's stuff. He goes crazy, and then we get into episode 8. So in episode 8's Rechange, why are they doing this RE thing? Why are they doing the re stuff? Whatever, I don't care. Rechange, episode 8. What happens in episode 8?
Episode 8, a lot happens, but I'm gonna blast through summary wise. Takamichi pleads to Mikey and Draken to stop fighting, but ultimately a turd in his hair would cause the two of them to make up with haste, the both of them forgetting the reason they were fighting in the first place. Takamichi relieved, thinking that he prevented the death of Draken, but later on, while enjoying a festival, he would discover that Draken is indeed still in danger.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. He's in danger by quite a bit. A lot of stuff's going on. So, again, I don't know what's up.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I wrote this episode 8 summary in haste. Takamichi also, after finding out that Draken's in danger, it's our friend, I'm forgetting his name. It's
Kiyomasa,
who is after Draken, and Kiyomasa and the rest of like the Toman guys that got kicked out because they were running that little fight club. They tie up Takamichi, him realizing that he never actually physically got stronger. He just was around Mikey and Draken a lot. They duct tape him up, leaving him there to take the blame later for killing Draken. And Emma shows up to save the day, her giving Takamichi her first kiss.
Hana.
I'm sorry. Two different names right now. Hana shows up to save Takamichi. Hina. We keep saying Hana. It's
Hina. You
Hinata.
said Hana, and I
said Hana,
it.
yeah. So Hina shows up to rescue Takamichi, and then he runs off to attempt to save Draken, who is still in danger.
So it's a fun bit, the whole thing, like them seeing poop in his hair and the whole, oh, we made up and stuff. But was it necessary? I don't know. I felt like a little bit of a stretch here to make this such a big deal, and for it to just be resolved really quickly at the beginning of this episode. I was like, okay. And then they try and explain like what actually happened. I mean, they explain it later in the episode, but they try to explain what happened. They're like, I don't even remember why we were fighting. And it's just so like juvenile a little bit. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm here for this. Like, I really feel like they were stretching for time.
They do say, that they both forgot, but Takamichi notes that, there was a reason. They both had something that they couldn't back down on, with Draken, him being like, no, we're not gonna bail Pa out, where he wanted to serve his time. That's why we left him there. He wanted to turn himself in, but Mikey's going, no, like we gotta go save him. We should have saved him then, like blah 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 blah.
Which also adds to
essentially the reason that they split up.
That adds to me thinking, like, can they even coexist? Like, Mikey and Draken are just not on the same level. And I don't know if it's because, again, maybe Mikey needs to grow up a little bit or something. But I really do ultimately think the problem is with Mikey. But I like Mikey a lot, but like
little guy.
if he's just a little guy, but I feel like the problem ultimately is with Mikey not thinking correctly in my eyes. But like in the grand scheme of things, he, like you said, he just wants to see this world. He's a perfectionist, not perfectionist, idealist,
yeah,
and wants to see this out and get his people, the people that have sided with him in some point, in the best possible way. And he's not thinking clearly, which is like,
and like he even says it at one point. He's like, Takamichi, I don't think you understand. Once I've decided we fight Mobius,
we fight.
That's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing else.
Yeah. And it adds to the reasoning in my head that these two just are not made for each other. And like if even if Draken does survive, like that's what ultimately what I'm thinking about. Even if Draken survives this, past August 3rd, August 4th comes up, boom, Draken's still alive. There's gonna be something else. And it really sucks. And I really hate to say it, but like all this stuff, all this little planting of something of them splitting up at some point, it makes me believe that even if he does survive, Takamichi's going to have to stay there and be the glue.
Hmm.
And he can't do that. He can't just do that, keep rescuing them and being the comic relief for them to both end up being like boys, just running off and being silly. Like
Tee
he
hee
has to be
poopy
the
hair.
glue the whole time. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to be able to, even if he does get past August 3rd. Dan says the fact he didn't go back to the future to confirm Draken will be safe before going to enjoy the festival annoyed me so much. No, he said, "Come on, Nato, let me just have this one. Let me just have this. Let me just have this little festival with my 16-year-old girlfriend.
That was
Come
a
on,
little
man.
treat.
Let's go. A little
Little,
treat."
there's my little treat.
Um, so we go past that. We get the whole Hina inviting him. Still have some resentment towards him for the whole Emma situation,
Hmm.
but they're enjoying the festival. It's a lot of fun. La la la. They're enjoying stuff, and I knew like ultimately this was going to be the downfall of him uh, not being able to rescue Draken because he gets really close to Hina, and he was about to have a kiss, and
And
he
then they
gets a
cop it
phone
out.
call. Yeah, and they cop it out. And uh, I didn't think we would see Kiyomasa again, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool. Because Kiyomasa comes back into the fold and he's like, well,
and
the
it makes sense.
timeline's still going. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. It makes sense. And he's like, the timeline's still going, and I'm still mad. So like I gotta do something because that's the kind of guys these are.
Yeah.
Uh he grouped up with some people that have a vendetta as well, and then takes it out on Takamichi. Takamichi gets, like you said, gets duct taped together. And what we were talking about, or what I was talking about earlier, was like the whole crying thing. He cries again for a really long time at this one because he notices he hasn't been stronger. He's just been around strong people. And then she reminds him that this is why you're strong. This is why you're better than everybody else because you have this in you. And I thought it was really nice. But then we get the kiss, which is kind of weird.
Kind of weird.
Kind of odd. Are we gonna talk about it again? I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Again, like I said in the first episode, pretty sure something's gonna happen, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna make me feel weird. So Hina is kissing her 20 whatever year old human inside brain inside of a 16-year-old body. Whatever, whatever. So we still see that Draken is in trouble. That someone Payon,
Hmm.
is that Payon,
Payon.
confronts him. Kiyomasa is still out there.
And it would
Draken
make
is still in
sense that
trouble.
Payon is confronting Draken after Draken was like, no, we're not going to get Pa we're not going to bail him out. And Payon is like, Pa's vice.
So what would stop them? What would stop everybody from targeting Draken? Um, because obviously Mikey hasn't, like, the threat of Mikey is still there, but until he's in front of them, they don't see that as a threat.
Correct. Because
Um,
now, as like we can see that they're willing to pull some underhanded things to try to corner him while he's alone with Emma.
yeah. So I don't know what would stop. I mean, Takamichi went out to go try and stop them, but I don't know. I really don't know what would stop them and what. I mean, can Draken take them down? Maybe. Can he take out down like 5 guys? Maybe. I don't know. Um, I hate it. I hate that you've seen this already. I can't say anything. I can't bounce anything off of you.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Like what? I don't know what would be the reasoning why he still survives, Takamichi, or just him brute forcing it, or even Emma. Like, could Emma do something crazy or say something crazy that'll finally show Draken that she loves him or something like that? I don't know. Um, Overall, these 4 episodes have been kind of cool. Like I say, I want to like this anime so bad. I
Yeah.
want to like it, and I'm leaning towards that. But this whole time travel business has me in my head, and like the story, like you said in the beginning, is a coming of age story, and I really like this story. But then there's also that other part where it's like, well, we got to go back to the future and see this. We got to go back to the future. We got to go back to the
Yeah, I
past.
forget that he's an adult sometimes because of how much time we end up spending in the past compared to the future, where we just go to the future for these little checkups, apparent like essentially, and we're really spending our time with the cast in the past. And as time goes on, to me, it really does feel like it's a story being told from Takamichi's perspective, but this is a story about it feels like a story that becomes more so about Toman, definitely. But I mean, we start the show with Toman, so it
Yeah,
only makes sense that it's a story about Toman and not about Takamichi. But whether or not that's good or bad, I don't know. And I'm just saying that's where it feels like the show's direction starts heading after, because it can't have him just go through test after test of resolve, because that would just become the same thing. And we've seen that he's willing. We already know he's gonna do the things he thinks he has to do in order to get the future that he wants. So there
mhm,
has to be something else that happens in order to keep the show interesting.
sure. I haven't seen this anime before. I have full confidence that because of what they've shown already, Draken's going to get out of this. We're going to see an alive Draken on August 3rd. So that's like for sure in my mind. In the timeline, in case he does die, is there a way to salvage Mikey from going into whatever it is that happens after this? Because again, that's there's still like a 1% chance that he's gonna die, but like I, that would be wild. Let me tell you, I would be genuinely surprised if Draken dies in these next 4 episodes, and we have to go on and see how Takamichi goes and revives Mikey from whatever hell he's going to go through. I don't know. It's hard to. I already know Draken's gonna live, right? I'm not gonna don't answer that, but if Draken dies, what can Takamichi do to keep Mikey from going insane or doing whatever, or keep him on the path
I
of his idealism
I
because
I
that's what's going to do
don't
it.
I don't know if that's possible, if Draken dies. Because like I mean, like, just we see Takamichi's his own person and stuff, but like even when he was like, "Hey Draken, I'm gonna be your bodyguard," he was like, "Why? No." And
Yeah.
then Takamichi was like, "Okay, great. Wait, what? What do you mean?" And he's like, "Why would I need a shrimp like you as a bodyguard?" It's like, "Oh wait, you're right. So I'm
Mhm.
just gonna follow you. I'm just gonna tail you and gather
Yeah,
info on
sure.
you, and that's how I'm gonna keep you safe." Like, Takamichi is great and he's doing everything he can, but he's not a replacement for either of them. And I don't think that, like, if I think he's well aware if Draken's taken out of the picture, like there's like Mikey's gonna be a completely different person without
Which
him.
which also makes me angry, like Dan said, like makes me angry that why didn't he go check or why didn't he just keep on Draken? Like I would do this so differently if I was in the past. Like I would just be there. I would be out his door. I'd be sleeping over at wherever he stays and just making sure, like, even though this we resolved this whole other thing with all of this fighting, I would be on him. I would make sure that he's alive every second. So I would totally do this different. But another question I had as well, we saw the reemerge, like the emergence in these 4 episodes of the character Emma, how
Yes.
closely connected she is to Draken, but also is getting closely to connected to Hina,
Hmm.
which makes me believe that there's going to be some story crux here with Emma that is going to be good or bad. And I have a couple of scenarios in my head where Hina is the one that ultimately dies on August 3rd and it becomes some sort of damning thing to Drak or I don't even know. I don't
I
even know if
know
Draken would
exactly
care.
what you mean. So it's, you don't think that Draken's gonna die, but you think that there's gonna be something else that happens that would be essentially like him, that is gonna cause him to change course of himself and become a different person, and that might ultimately have repercussions.
But then I think about that. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. But like what would that even be? Because he's shown so much that he doesn't even register Emma as somebody.
He shows that, he acts that way, but then you get the scene in the hospital with him saying things like, "Have it you don't need to bow your head, but just have a heart that cares for others." And I think he knows somewhere inside of him that he's I hate to put it this way, but that, like, Emma being close to him is ultimately would ultimately just lead to her getting hurt anyways because of the type of
Person
company
that
he
he is.
keeps, person that he is, etc.
Okay.
That could be the case where he's acting cold kind of and almost intentionally, but
Okay.
I don't know.
I
That's something that I don't know that I'd
th-
like to throw out there.
sure. That I mean that's what in my head that makes sense that Draken could do that, that he could be
It's like
intentionally
he's
doing
too
this.
compassionate of a person to actually think that she doesn't like him. Like he knows,
Yeah. Okay.
but he's I don't know.
So I think somebody is dying on August 3rd. In the story, the percentage wise, I would say 90%. I think Draken's gonna live. Here's a prediction here. Draken's gonna live 90%. For me right now, they built up Emma so much in these past 4 episodes where she just
You think she's
appeared
getting too much
and now
attention?
she's everywhere. Yeah, she's everywhere, connected to Hina a lot. She's had moments with, Takamichi a bunch. We've gotten her motivation of what she's
Wussy
doing, why
boy.
she's doing it. Yeah, and her connection with Toman as well. So I still think that
And right now, Draken is apparently in danger and she's out with him.
yeah. So all of that being said, I think there's a 69% chance that she's gonna die for me.
69, nice.
69% chance that I think Emma's gonna die ultimately on August 3rd instead of um, Draken. And would that change Toman? Would that bring them more together? I don't know. But I do think that it's going to end up to where I don't think Payan is going to do it. Maybe Kiyomasa is going to do it to try and get to
We
Draken
saw
at
him
some point.
be given up some sort of like blade knife thing.
Yeah, so that's my prediction for that. That he's going to be the one to do it. I don't think Payan has that in him really, but it'll ultimately lead to her uh, dying. But I don't know. Like, what do you? I can't ask so many questions because you've
Yeah.
already seen it. But uh, this, for a time travel show, this feels uh, so small, like in the world. Like there are all these little characters here in this little world. And I'm curious what happens in season two or the next season or the next couple episodes because it's gradually getting bigger, I think,
Mhm.
because in the
This
last,
arc, we're still kind of in the first arc, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, so to speak. But the second arc takes place in season one after the opening changes and everything. We didn't talk about the opening and the ending last time, also.
no, pretty
Um,
good.
very good in my opinion. But
Yeah.
the when the opening changes, that's when the arc changes, and it definitely feels like it opens up and gives a lot more like nuance to the story,
Uh,
whether or not you want more nuance in your already nuanced time travel thriller, the mystery coming of age story
sure.
is whether is is yet to be said. But it's definitely starting off with enough that I feel like it can really go any direction that they're setting up, and it will like kind of be satisfying. And by that I mean, the directions that we're talking about with your predictions on what's going to happen on August 3rd, and what the repercussions of Takamichi's actions on August 3rd will change in present day, what the butterfly
Yeah,
effect's going to be.
sure.
That's
So
like the thing that keeps me like in with the show is like the next I want to see that next like butterfly effect. Like how are the ripples going to hold weight? Are they
mhm,
going to hold weight? Like you said, he's already noting at the when they get surrounded like, "Oh my god, goodness, there's deviations. We're in a weird timeline. These are things that are just not even being accounted for." And as much as that kind of can muddy the narrative, it makes sense for that type of a narrative. It honestly does. There's going to
sure.
be these small differences that start happening because of the small changes that he's operating with.
And I think the cool part about it is that he can't be in two places at once. That's the other thing that is really kind of cool about it, that in order to see the ripples of what he's doing right now, he has to go to the future. But then when he goes to the future, that his idle click self could be not doing something that needs to
Needs to be
happen,
done.
that he
Yep.
doesn't even know about. Because how did he end up under Emma? Who knows? I don't know. How did she convince him? Did he go along with it and be fine with it and be just like, okay, whatever? So like in order for him to understand or to see where the next step is for him to try and save everyone, he has to go to the future. But then by him going to the future, he has to stop himself from actively doing something. And
And the
Kaylin brought this
time's
up.
constantly moving.
Yeah, Kaylin brought this up. What, he can't stay there forever. He can't stay in the past forever because what's happening to his body in the future?
He's
Like
in
his body,
suspended animation.
is he though? Is
That's
where's
what
he
I
being?
the
Naito's
second
poop.
the second time he comes back from the past, Naoto has him like hooked up to an IV, and he's like,
That's
"So
what
that's
I said.
confirmed. You're in suspended animation every single time."
Where's he pooping though?
He's wearing a diaper.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
Adult
sure.
diapers.
Okay. It
Depends.
turns out that that turd that was on his head is his from the future. Uh Naito took it out and
But I know what you
shook
mean, where
hands.
like, and again, that too, that it shows a little bit of him like going back to work and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm here for my shift," and they're like, "You haven't been here in 2 weeks. You're
Yeah.
fired." Like, he's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah,
And
my bad. Okay. I don't know where this is going. I really hope I end up really enjoying this anime. But in next episode, we're gonna watch 9 through 12 by next week. Watch episode 9 through 12 of Tokyo Revengers by next Wednesday. New day on the show from now on. Next Wednesday, watch episode 9 through 12 of Tokyo Revengers, and we'll come here and talk about it. Join the Discord if you want to throw down your thoughts. Let us know before the next episode what you think or what you're thinking while you're watching them. We'd love for you to do that. But I'm interested to see where this goes, and I'm curious because right now I'm like in the middle. I'm like I'm chill with the story. I'm cool with the characters. There's got to be something that sends me to the next level where I'm like, oh my god, this is so amazing. Like more of the whole paw stabbing him. Like
oh yeah,
I
we
love
get the
that.
little bit of the person standing overlooking the city with like a dragon tattoo on their like neck slash back.
Sure.
After the whole bit of Mikey and Draken in the past, is that Mikey's older brother? Is that somebody we've heard before? Is that just this completely random person?
Uh
Like,
huh.
that's definitely
Right here.
something that happened, that it just splashes in there, but then it
Yeah.
doesn't really say anything about it.
Hmm. Which is sort of the same tattoo that Draken has.
Draken has, yeah, on his temple or whatever.
Which, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Who's
Um,
that? Who's the dragon?
Who is it? Who's the dragon? Thank you so much for watching the Anime Hour, Matt. When you're not stuck in a time loop, where can they find you on the internet?
I'm not stuck in a time loop or having a headache because OBS updated. You could find me on my Twitch at Matt_Galley, or you could follow me on any of my socials, just at an ITS at the front, at ITS Matt_Galley. And when we're not here talking about turds and hair, where can the people find you?
There will be no turds in my hair on Twitch, twitch.tv/JulesTheHuman. Find me here if you're watching live. Thank you so much for watching live. We appreciate it. I'm going to be streaming some Honkai tomorrow. I think we're going to stream a new game. It's going to be a hashtag ad, and we're going to be playing a new little train game. So stick around for that. Tomorrow, going to be streaming that, and then some Honkai probably this weekend, of course, because I'm addicted and I like to gamble. You can watch these episodes on Spotify and YouTube, youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. They're on my YouTube channel. I have a little playlist if you want to go back and see all the anime that we watched, or if you want to go on Spotify, just look up the Jules and Matt Anime Hour as you see it right here. We have next week, we're going to rate Tokyo Revengers. It's the end of our little watch through of the first story arc, the first
arc,
season. Yep. We're going to rate it. We're going to put it up here with all the other anime, and then we're going to pick a new anime next week to watch a little bit of probably the first season, the first arc, or whatever it is. We're going to do a couple episodes on another anime. So if you want your anime to be chosen, you can do 500 bits here, and that goes to both of us. And we pick a anime to watch for a couple weeks and become our personality. So if you would like to do that on Twitch, twitch.tv/JulesTheHuman. Next week, new anime. Next week, episode 9 through 12, more Tokyo Revengin, the Jules and Matt reanime hour. I don't know. I tried to do it like the title. We'll see you next week.
Bye.